One of the greatest Star Wars games of all time has just been released. There's another Force sensitive during the time of the sequel trilogy. Plus, we have the ending of Star Wars, maybe, all this week on Star Wars Weekly. Hello fellow Star Wars fans, it is Starrapter here, and we are in the midst of a tidal wave of Star Wars content. The Mandalorian is here, we have Star Wars Resistance episodes, and we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the first video game that's single player focused in about 9 years. The last one that came out was the second Force Unleashed game, and this one is so good, guys. It's so good. I had such high expectations for this action adventure game that puts you behind the hilt of Cal Kestis, a Jedi Padawan, and this is everything I wanted and more. It's basically Dark Souls mixed with Uncharted, mixed with a little bit of a Legend of Zelda vibe. You have mainly combat, you have exploration, and it's just so much damn story in this thing. Like, if you guys are like me and love all the little canon tidbits, you're gonna absolutely love this. It takes place 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, so there's a lot of fallout from the Clone Wars. We have lots of memorable characters making appearances in this, but the best thing about this game is the original characters. They're all just so well fleshed out. The action is unbelievable. Respawn has really gone above and beyond, going out of their comfort zone for a studio that's normally developing first-person shooters. They have taken this project head on, and man, it feels so good to deflect blaster bolts right at stormtroopers and instantly kill them. It feels so good to parry melee type opponents and just take them out. Like, everything about this game is amazing. I have my review coming out soon, so make sure you check that out. Next up, we have a book release. This one is part of Journey to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. This is Force Collector, written by Kevin Shinnick. So this one takes place right before the events of The Force Awakens. Not quite sure exactly where, but a little bit before that. We have this character named Carr, and he is Force sensitive, but he doesn't have anybody, of course, to show him how to develop his powers. His power is basically he can touch an object, similar to what Cal Kestis can do. He can touch an object and get an echo through the Force of who Force sensitive touched it in the past. So he's trying to trace a line to certain characters that might be able to teach him about the Force, aka maybe Luke Skywalker. And well, it's taken him on this journey that's really cool. Right before the final film of the Skywalker saga, we're getting to go to places that were in the prequels. We're going to places that are in the sequel trilogy and learning a lot about things in the original trilogy. So it's got that Lost Stars vibe where you're really getting this whole encapsulated view of the entire saga in this one story, and there's a big revelation at the end of the story that you guys definitely should check out. I definitely recommend this one. I also have my full review on the channel right now. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the landmark issue of Star Wars. This is Star Wars issue number 75. We are on that destination to Hoth. This is the final issue of the first iteration of Marvel Comics with Star Wars, at least in canon. And yeah, this is it, guys. So I also picked up the variant cover. I had to, because look how beautiful this artwork is. I had to pick this one up, especially since it's the last issue. Definitely had to pick it up. So this story comes to a close, but not really, because we're going to have the Empire Ascendant, which is going to bring together Dr. Aphra, Star Wars characters. It's going to bring together Ballard Valance from Target Vader comics, as well as, of course, Darth Vader himself, and it's going to do like an epilogue to all this Phase 1 of Marvel Star Wars comics, and that's coming out next month, right before The Rise of Skywalker. And then, of course, in January, they're going to restart Star Wars issue number 1. It's going to go right after the events of The Empire Strikes Back, so we're in between Return of the Jedi and that. I cannot wait for that. But let's talk about this issue, because it's a little bit of an oversized issue for its final issue of Star Wars. Remember, it started back in 2015. This is what got me into comics, guys. This first issue of this series got me into Star Wars comics and into comics as a whole, so that is very special to me. This comic here was a little bit disappointing, if I'm to be honest to you guys, because, like, seriously, it was a little bit far-fetched. It felt a lot like a Legends comic. So the whole premise of this story is that we have all these characters showing up. We have Luke, we have R2, we have C-3PO, we have Chewie, we have Han, we have Leia, and this guy Dar Champion. They're all arriving at K-43. The whole idea was to draw these Star Destroyers to that planet, destroy the planet, hoping to take all these Star Destroyers with them, cause a lot of distractions so the rebels can set up a base somewhere in the galaxy. It all goes wrong. Earlier in issue, in the storyline, we figured out that these sentient Conkrons, type of rock creatures, they are living there. So all of a sudden, they're sentient life. They don't want to get killed. So, Chewbacca deactivates, not even him. It's actually this force wave that these Conkrons do to deactivate all the bombs. So we have this flashpoint on this planet. We have the last issue. We have Chewie fighting Vader. In this issue, it picks up with that again. Then we have Luke getting involved, which is kind of dicey because, remember, I mean, these guys shouldn't really be meeting a whole lot because they're going to meet in Empire Strikes Back, and that's when we have the big reveal that, of course, Luke is the son of Vader. So we don't want to have that play around with Darth Vader a whole lot, not in this time period. So I thought they did an admirable job with really not having Luke see Darth Vader too long before the lava started flowing and everything else. Now, remember, they had crashed this planet because this electromagnetic pulse had shorted out all the circuitry. C-3PO went down. Vader somehow wasn't able to go down. I think it's because he was using the Force to power his suit, because we do see later on in the issue he's starting to get weak because he uses the Force to block everybody's laser bolts, because what happens is Han and Leia come down in the shuttle with our champion and they all rush Vader at once. It was kind of cool. It was like that sort of Avengers moment when they're all just charging fire, and then it's this crazy moment where Vader is able to use the Force to block all of this. And what happens after that is he needs help getting up. He gets into the shuttle and short circuits the wiring and just does another EMP pulse that actually activates everything that was deactivated. And when that happens, guess what? It sets the bombs off. The bombs turn and destroy this planet. Everybody gets off, but the weirdest thing is this planet ends up transforming into a gigantic Cochran monstrosity. Yes, the planet becomes a sentient being, and that's where I have major issues with this issue, because it just seems so far-fetched. Next thing you know, this thing's in space. It's just destroying Star Destroyers with its fists. And, well, we do have the rebels get away, and they are seen heading towards Hoth on the medical frigate, and everybody survives, including Darth Champion and Warba. So that's very interesting. Heading into Empire Ascendant, what happens with these two very important characters that intermingled with our favorite trio? So yes, if it wasn't for that gigantic rock creature, I would thought it would have been a pretty good ending to a long-standing series. And that's kind of been my general thought about this overall series. It's had a lot of ups and downs. My favorite arc of all this, I think, is probably Hope Dies. It's very dark. They get their whole fleet. Everybody gets basically destroyed, including General Draven, as well as Dodonna, and then we have the formation of Rogue Squadron. That was my favorite arc. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is your favorite arc of the Star Wars comics from all 75 issues? I do want to highlight the C-3PO and a Chewbacca moment. I think if anything out of this entire arc that we had with Rebels and Rogues is that we get a lot of development between C-3PO and Chewie and why they care about each other so much, and why we see Chewie caring so much about C-3PO when he gets dismantled on Cloud City and he's fixing up. So it really does, if anything I gathered out of this, it helps me understand all that. So yeah, this whole issue was okay. And the whole fact that we're getting Empire Ascended as the epilogue, I think that's going to tie this whole thing up, hopefully in a very beautiful way, because there's many writers involved, including Charles Soule, as well as Cy Spurrier, as well as everybody that's been involved basically with the most recent Star Wars comics, Greg Pak. So cannot wait for that one. So there's a lot to discuss this week. Are you playing Jedi Fallen Order? How are you enjoying the game? How do you think the ending for the Star Wars flagship comic series was? Let's talk about all that in the comment section down below. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. I talk about Star Wars a heck of a lot, especially this month of November. I'm trying to stay afloat with all this content just coming at me in an avalanche format. It's been crazy, but I'm doing my best, guys. So I have plenty of Jedi Fallen Order videos. I have the spoilers to the ending. If you don't plan on playing the game, check that out. See what happens at the end. It's pretty awesome stuff, as well as plenty of other reviews. So that's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like this video. That's going to do it for me. Have a good one, and may the Force be with you always.
Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.